message to all black men who left the Democratic Party for the MAGA Party. I'm going to offer you this one-time opportunity to come back. You can come back. You have until Sunday, 12 high noon. We'll take you back. We'll take you back. There's no more rule, no matter who. It's come on, Amana, bang, bang. Come on, Amana, bang, bang. Coach.
We're humans, and you understand that. And all of us are different. We have different beliefs, like different foods. Some are left-handed, right-handed, some are short, some are tall, some are old, some are young. You get it. We will inevitably disagree, but it's how we handle those disagreements that we can establish a bond of respect between me and you. We have to respect each other and disagree with some level of sensibility and respect. But what happens if we're disrespectful to one another? You don't want to be around me. You will dislike me and could even do even worse to me simply because I've crushed that bond between me and you. And this is the case with the Democratic Party. When it comes to blacks, all they do is talk in a disrespectful tonality, and nobody that's an adult wants to be disrespected. In this video, I want to show you why Democrats lost the election. Disrespectful, paternalistic talking points towards the black community. And the first to do this is Joe Biden.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black, and you ain't black, and you ain't black.
Now, this is 2020. Of course, he was able to win this election, but this was the beginning of the end because Joe Biden said, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're not black. How can somebody that is non-black tell you what being black is? It's like me going to Poland or going to, somewhere in Europe and saying, hey, if you eat that food, you're not Polish. Like, people will look at me like I'm crazy, right? Who I vote for or what I believe, or if I vote at all, doesn't decide what my culture is or what my race is. And for you to tell me that and to dictate that to me, that my race depends on what you say it is, lets me know that secretly you are a racist and that you have no respect for me and that you look down on me and that I'm not living for myself, I'm living for you. And then you're also letting me know that I don't have the right to ask questions or a right to demand what I need from you and that I need to give something to you because if not, I won't be black anymore. But he's not the only one. President Barack Obama.
And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time.
Here's another shaming tactic. If you don't do something, then your manhood is in question. Now, let me just say this. For a lot of black men coming from the black community, a lot of brothers don't have a problem with women leadership because literally it's all we've seen. Now, of course, men can be misogynistic as much as women can be misandrous, but there are no group of men in the world that have taken a step back for their women and let the women lead like black men have done. You have a lot of black men who voted for Kamala Harris in numbers simply because they wanted to see a black woman get into the presidency. We did that as a group of black men again, not me personally, over the tune of 80%. So how can you say that black men who don't want to vote for Kamala Harris are misogynist when it could be that Kamala Harris doesn't have any policies that are befitting the group of black men you're talking about? In other words, you don't have another right to ask questions. You don't have a right to state what you want. You don't have a right to question her, because if you don't vote for her, you're a misogynist. And this is how you talk to somebody who's an adult. It's a very paternalistic attitude to have towards somebody who's a grown person who is a part of your political party that you actually need their vote, and you need to work to cater for that particular vote. Again, imagine if I'm Apple, I'm a person that sells products, computers or smartphones, and then you walk into my store and I say that if you don't buy my gadget, well then you have AIDS or you're stupid if you don't buy my gadget. That's the reason why you won't buy it. I want you to buy it, but I don't want you to buy it based on merit. I want you to buy it based on fear or based on manipulation. But it gets worse. Ricky Smiley.
I'm just sick of the black people on the internet talking about I'm not with her. Okay, so if you're not with her, that means you with Trump. And y'all need to block every last one of their asses on Facebook and on Instagram and social media and stop. Like, that's just garbage.
Yeah.
It's just garbage.
Can everybody we be united on anything?
Can't agree on a damn bucket of chicken. One person want a hot dog.
I always complain.
Black folks get on my damn nerves, man. Why everybody making all these celebrities making all these videos going off on Kamala Harris and stuff, and then the black men, Kamala Harris didn't prosecute you and treated you bad in court. I got treated bad in court too, but I'm with her.
So that is Ricky Smiley. If you vote for Donald Trump, or if you know somebody that votes for Donald Trump, just block him. Then he says, well, why can't black people just get along? You see, black people are too indecisive. We all trying to get a chicken, somebody want a hot dog. Well, as an individual, don't you have the right to want a hot dog? You see, Ricky Smiley is very successful. Now, if I were to say, well, you know what, Ricky Smiley, we all live in the ghetto. But Ricky Smiley, you don't have that right to live in a gated mansion, in a gated community like you do, because you should live like the rest of us. Ricky Smiley would vehemently disagree, because he's going to come out and say, first of all, I'm my own man and I work for what I have, which would be right. But in the same tonality, a person that doesn't want to vote for Kamala Harris has that same individual right to that expression. And just because Ricky Smiley doesn't want to live in the hood anymore, that doesn't mean that he should be blocked. It just means that, hey, he has that position and I need to respect it, although I don't agree. But that's not what they do. Let's talk about random black women.
All the black people voted for Trump have one major thing in common. No education. No higher education whatsoever. Not completed. And, education ain't everything, but it's a lot. Ask a black man why he's voting for Trump, and he gonna say something dumb like, he's helping the economy, but when you ask him to expand, that's the end of it. He's helping the economy. How? And they can't say nothing else. He just pulling. Ask one. Ask a local black man in your hometown why he's voting for Trump, and watch the bullshit that come out his mouth. What did 50 Cent say to Floyd Mayweather? Ask a black Trump supporter to read a page from a Harry Potter book. I dare you. And then come back to this post and tell me what the response is. Because they all have that one thing in common, I swear.
So here we have a sister saying that black men who vote for Donald Trump, you're uneducated, you're stupid. But listen though, it's not just black women who say that.
Why are black men under 50 moving towards the Republican Party? That is an easy answer, and I'm glad you asked. That is a very easy answer, because these black men, right, didn't follow the same course as the black women. They're not as educated as the black women. They're not leading in entrepreneurship like black women are. They're not leading, in wages like the black women are, right? And because they're not doing those things, black women are less tolerant of accepting mediocrity and horseshit, from black men. And so black men are pissed off, and they want, to align themselves with these white supremacist ideologies of the nuclear family, right? And women not having abortions, and women, being able to be controlled by men. And I'm sorry, but black women aren't going to allow you to control them anymore, especially when every time in history, black women have been the first ones to step up to the plate when black men are being harmed by the system. Perfect example, when Tamir Rice died, they started Black Lives Matter. When George Floyd died, they were the very first people to put boots on the ground, and then black men spit in their fucking faces. And so because black men can't control black women the way the white men control white women, they're trying to move the Republican Party so they can try to get some of that control, some of that power.
He's also saying the same thing, that these are undereducated men. Now, what they could do is find out, why do you feel like Kamala Harris is or is not a good candidate? What is it that you're looking for? Because, hey, Kamala Harris already has her base, and her job as a presidential candidate is to come more toward the middle and then solve or try to reason with people who have issues that are different than hers to see what she can do. But they don't do that. It is easier for Democrats to call names and say, hey, well, because you vote a certain way, you're uneducated. Okay, brother, let's talk about some of the most blackest cities where you have a lot of female populations right now run by Democrats. There are a lot of educated black Democrats in Detroit, a lot of educated black Democrats in New Orleans, a lot of black Democrats that are educated in Chicago, in Atlanta, in Houston. Houston right now, I believe, is considered one of the dirtiest cities in America. Philadelphia, Detroit, Cleveland. Okay. Those are cities filled with educated black people. What do you say is wrong with these cities? All of them are the most violent. Jackson, Mississippi. You know, a lot of these cities are terrible to live in. Okay. And people want to get the hell out of here. So how are those educated blacks doing who are running those cities? I would say they are faring quite terrible. Being educated doesn't mean productivity, or it doesn't mean that you're reinvesting into the city. And it definitely doesn't mean that you're developing the city. Education can have something to do with that, but in the black community, we're just simply not seeing it. Look at Washington, D.C. It's one of the most educated places for African Americans in planet Earth, and D.C. just can't get it together with their public policies, can they? They can't, and we all know they can't. Baltimore, which is not too far from D.C., they have a lot of educated blacks. What's going on there? So what do you say about those groups of people who can't get it together, African Americans? But again, this is a shaming tactic used to talk down on black men. But last but not least, the most disrespectful person that talks down to African Americans is Kamala Harris herself.
Do you support reparations for black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country, right?
Now, Kamala Harris, who went to Howard University and understands the black struggle, as a president cosplaying as an African American, doesn't feel that African Americans are worth reparations. But she can go around talking about cooking collard greens and, pretending to be black and all these things and getting the black vote, but expecting the black vote without doing anything from a community that she's clearly benefited from. This is a sign of disrespect. Imagine you were to go to China, cosplaying as a Chinese person, talking about Chinese foods, and then when a Chinese person says, hey, what are you gonna do for our community? And then you say, well, hey, listen, I gotta look out for the whole entire world, not just China. What would a Chinese person think? They would feel like, whoa, you use my culture to come up, but you're not willing to give me anything? We need to get rid of this person, because that too is a sign of disrespect. When a person can understand your struggle and then look at you and has benefited solely from your community and say, hey, your people have been through a lot. I know, I went to one of your HBCUs, but I still don't want to give you anything. That's a sign of disrespect. And all of those signs are reasons why some African American voters had enough of Democrats. Because Democrats need to understand that they're talking to actual people. They're not talking to dogs. When you listen to people like Roland Martin,
the fact of the matter is Trump inherits an economy fixed by Democrats. And he's going to immediately claim credit for all of it. He's going to say, oh, it came back all because I'm coming back. But do understand, you better pay attention when he lets Elon Musk run amok in the federal government. You better be scared to death when he literally lets Robert F. Kennedy be in control of science and health. Oh, you better bring back the mask and everything else, because it's about to be a lot more people who ain't vaccinated. And when polio comes back, and some of these other diseases that we conquered a long time ago come back, because you've got a crazed, deranged, anti-vaccine person in charge, well, there you go.
You would think you're talking to a dog. Like, is he talking to a dog or a human? He can't actually be talking to human beings like that. But this is even a better one. A civil rights attorney who's a very intelligent man by the name of New Possibilities. Here's a guy that went to law school. He lives in urban black cities. But what he has to say in his down talking towards black men, it's very interesting.
And most black men voted for Kamala Harris. So I'm not blaming black men for this result, but for the ignorant minority of black men, the significant ignorant minority of black men that voted for this man, I'm going to ride you like a donkey. I'm going to ride you until the wheels fall off. With every detrimental decision that this clown, this buffoon makes while in the White House, I'm going to ride you till the fucking wheels fall off, man.
So he's going to ride black men and attack them for their political opinion, although he understands that Kamala lost the popular vote, the Joe Biden administration lost the White House, Democrats lost the Senate and the House of Representatives, and none of these people want to ask why that happened, because there's no accountability of why it happened. The reality is that these guys want to talk down to the same community that is rejecting them now, and they're mad that they're losing. It's kind of like you being in an abusive relationship with someone, and instead of trying to say sorry and trying to fix things, they just keep being more abusive, like literally pushing you more away than in the past. They're just making it even worse for you to get there. And this attitude, this entitled attitude of having a bad political strategy, having bad political policies, and the failure to listen to the constituents that you only want to use for money and donations and nothing else in votes, is the reasons why you might not see a Democratic president for a long time. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shooter Jackson, back in again with another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.